Good morning, everyone. Welcome to IBS IAS Academy. In this session, we are going to discuss important articles in the Indian Constitution, Part 4. I am Ashok, Master's graduate from IIT Kharagpur. I am working as an assistant professor in IBS IAS Academy. I have been training UPSC aspirants since the past 6 years. I am also an author. I have written books on science and technology and environment and ecology. In this session, we are going to discuss about Article 14 and Article 15, the fundamental rights. We're going to discuss about the fundamental rights, the Article 14 and Article 15. And Article 14 reads as equality before law, and Article 15 right against discrimination. So we'll see what these two articles are. The first, the fundamental rights. The fundamental rights falls into Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. They falls into Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, and which is described as the Magna Carta of India. Right, royal document, the Magna Carta. So it is regarded as the Magna Carta of India. The fundamental rights are a group of rights that have been recognized by the high degree of protection from the encroachment. Right? So, what are fundamental? Fundamental, the meaning fundamental itself says that they are the basic rights, right, that are needed for the citizen. And these fundamental rights are the group of rights which have highest degree of protection. That means if the fundamental rights are violated, you can even move the Supreme Court of India. The fundamental rights are sacrosanct in nature, right? So they have the highest protection from the encroachment. Nobody can violate the fundamental rights unless as per the procedure established by the law, right? Because the fundamental rights are not absolute, they have reasonable restriction. They have reasonable restriction. And the fundamental rights in India are the rights guaranteed under the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, as we have already discussed. And we have Articles 12 to 35. Articles 12 to 35. We have already discussed about the Article 11 and Article 12 in the previous session. Please go through that video. And the 6 fundamental rights are right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and education rights, and right to constitutional remedies. These are the 6 fundamental rights. And the 7th fundamental right, which was there in the original constitution, right to property. Right to property, now it is just a legal right. Right now it is just a legal right, it is not a fundamental right. Right to property is not a fundamental right, it is a legal right. Now we have 6: equality, freedom against exploitation, freedom to religion, cultural and education, and right to constitutional remedies. You will have to remember the fundamental rights thoroughly and the articles therein as well. Right to equality, Article 14 to 18, right to freedom 19 to 22, right against exploitation 23 and 24, right to freedom of religion 25 to 28, cultural and educational rights 29 and 30, and constitutional remedies 32. Right, these are the 6 fundamental rights present in the constitution now. So Article 14, right? So Article 14 guarantees equality before law as well as equal protection of law to all the people within the territory of India. So you have to remember, to all the people. Why to all the people? That means it is for the citizens as well as the non-citizens of India. It is not just for the citizens, it is for the non-citizens as well. So everyone is equal before law, right? So it guarantees equality before law as well as equal protection of law to all the people within the territory of India. This includes equal subjection of all persons to the authority of the law as well as equal treatment of persons in similar circumstances. This is what equal protection of law means. That means equality before law. All the people are equal before the authority of law. Before the law, there is no individual who has the higher priority and there is no individual who has the lower priority. Everyone is equal before the law. And at the same time, there is equal treatment for all the people belonging to the similar circumstances. Right? That means we are ensuring equality among equals. Right? We are ensuring equality among equals, not equality among unequals. Right? Most of the people will quote Article 14 and they say the reservation has to be abolished. So why the reservation? should be there because they are not equal, they do not belong to the same social circumstances, right? So that's why we are ensuring, as per the article 4, equality among the equals only, right? So this is what equal treatment of persons in similar circumstances, this is what justice, right? We call it equity. Equity, which means equality plus justice. And the latter permits the state to classify persons for legitimate purposes, provided there is a reasonable basis for the same. That means the state has an authority to classify persons. That means it can classify who are equals or who are unequals. And the classification is required to be non-arbitrary based on the method of intelligible differentiation among those sought to be classified, as well as have a rational relation to the object sought to be achieved by the classification. That means if you are classifying, we have to make sure the classification is on a rational way but not in an in an arbitrary way. That means we cannot classify based upon the prejudices we have, but based on the natural circumstances, based upon the social background, based upon the educational background, based upon the economical background. So there has to be a reasonable justification that to be provided to classify the people, right? So that the additional benefits can be given to those individuals, even though we have the right to equality as a fundamental right, right? This is what article 14 is dealing with. So we'll see article 14, the right is extended to all the persons, whether the citizens or the foreigners, right? Article 14 is extended to all the people, including the citizens as well as the non-citizens of the country. And statutory corporations, all the statutory corporations, companies, registered societies, or any other type of legal person. So it applies to everything. It applies to everything, right? So statutory corporations are the ones which are established by an act of parliament. Right, statutory corporations or the corporation established by an act of parliament, so those also falls under article 14. And the companies that were registered under the companies act, and the societies registered under the societies act, and any other type of legal person, that means anyone who obeys the law of anyone who has to obey the law of the land falls under the ambit of article 14, and they are equal before the law. But we have a few exceptions to the article 14. We have a few exceptions under the article 14. The very first one is article 361. Article 361, which states that the President of India or the Governor of the states is not answerable to any court. Right? They are not answerable to any court for the exercise of their powers and duties, and no civil or criminal proceedings can occur or continue against them in any court during the term of an office. So whatever the 5 years of term or any amount of the term they are serving as the president or the governor, so whatever the decisions they are making, right? So no civil or the criminal proceedings can actually be taken against them, against the President of India and the Governor of India, and they are not answerable to any court. Not answerable to any court as per Article 361. As per the Article 61. And as per Article 361A, no civil or court proceedings can occur for a person for publishing any substantially true report on either House of the Parliament and the state legislature. Right? So, it is talking about the press, right? It is talking about the press. It is talking about publishing any kind of written document or any kind of the content, right, against the government, either houses of the parliament or the state legislature. No court proceedings or the civil proceedings can actually occur to that particular person. In that way, we are protecting the press as well, press freedom as well, right? And there is one other point I want to quote on Article 361, that the president and the governor. So we have to remember the president acts on aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, right? The Council of Ministers. The president acts on aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, as well as the governor should act in accordance with the Council of Ministers of the State Assembly. So that's why, right, we have to remember that the decisions taken by the president and the governor are as per the mandate of the ministers, right? As per the mandate of the cabinet. And the no member of the parliament, as per the article 105, and the state legislature shall be liable to any court proceedings in respect to anything said or any vote given by him in parliament or any committee, right? No member of the parliament, right, or no state legislature, right, any member of the state legislature can be liable to any court proceedings. That means if I go to the parliament as a parliamentarian member or the state assembly as member of legislative assembly, MLA. So if I am going there as an MP or an MLA, if I am talking something within the premises of the central legislature and the state legislature, so no court proceedings can actually occur or depending on what I said in that closed walls. And whatever the vote I have taken, if it is in favor of the government or against the government, so I am not liable to any of the court proceedings. But remember, so we have a law based upon how you act within the closed walls of the premises when it comes to voting, right? So we call it anti-defection law, right? You may lose your seat, so if you're voting against the interest of the political party, okay. And next one, the foreign sovereigns, the rulers, right, the foreign personals and the ambassadors and the diplomats enjoy immunity from criminal and the civil proceedings. They enjoy immunity from the criminal and civil proceedings. These are the exceptions to the article 14, right? The very first one is article 361, where the president is not answerable, and as well as the governor is not answerable to any court, and the civil or the criminal proceedings cannot be processed on them during their term of office. So once they come out of the office, they are the same as the normal citizen of India. So then the proceedings can actually happen on the crime he has committed. But during his term of office, no civil or the criminal proceedings can happen, and also they are not answerable to any court. At the same time, Article 361A, right? It states that so no civil or criminal proceedings, court proceedings can actually happen against publishing any content, any true report on the houses of the parliament or the state legislature, and at the same time, no parliamentarian member as the state legislative member can actually is liable to any court proceedings in respect to anything said or vote against him in the parliament or any committee. And the foreign sovereigns, ambassadors, and the diplomats enjoy immunity from the criminal and the civil proceedings. Right? This is what Article 14 is talking about. Right? So next one, Article 15. Right? Article 15 is talking about the prohibition of discrimination based upon the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, and place of birth only. Right? Remember that. Remember that. Right? Prohibition of discrimination. Article 15 is talking about right against discrimination, right, on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place, right? So you have to remember these five because it is asked in the prelims examination, UPSC. So which of the following statements are true? The prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, creed, caste, sex, place of birth, right? If an additional point is added into that, so it is not right, right? So as Article 15 of 1 states that state shall not discriminate against any citizen on the grounds of only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, and any of them, right? We cannot discriminate against the people based upon the religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them, right? At the same time, the Article 15 of 2 states that no citizen shall on grounds of only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them be subject to any disability, liability, restrictions, or conditions with regard to right? It is increasing the ambit of prohibition of discrimination, right? It is increasing the ambit of the prohibition of discrimination. It is telling on the grounds on which we cannot really discriminate on them. The very first one is access to the shops, public restaurants, hotels, palaces of public entertainment, right? So that means you cannot really ask any person not to come to your shop, right? Based upon the caste, based upon the religion, based upon the race, based upon the place of birth, right? So based upon religion, so any of this, right? So you cannot ask a particular person, or based upon the sex, right? We cannot really ask the men not to come into one particular shop, or the women not to come to a particular shop, right? The access to the shops are for everyone, and the public restaurants, all the public restaurants, anyone should be able to come, and the hotels therein, right? And the places of public entertainment. So we cannot discriminate. And at the same time, the use of wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, place for public resort maintained wholly or partially by the state funds or dedicated to the use of general public, right? So any of these particular places we cannot discriminate based upon the five grounds: religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. And Article 15 of 3 states that nothing in this article should prevent the state from making any special provisions to the women and children. It is telling that we are prohibiting the discrimination, but we already discussed in the previous article that the fundamental rights are not absolute. There is reasonable restriction. So what is this reasonable restriction? So it is telling that even though we cannot discriminate, so the state can provide for the special provisions to the women as well as children. And Article 15 of 4 states that nothing in this article or in this clause of Article 29 shall prevent the state from making any special provisions for the advancements of any socially or educationally backward classes of citizens, or for the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes, right? So it is talking about the special provisions to the advancements of the socially and educationally backward classes, right? We provide reservations, right, based upon socially and educationally. That means both the conditions ought to be satisfied to provide reservations. And recently we have made an amendment and we have added that economical backwardness shall also be given reservations, right? We have added another clause to the Article 15 saying that economically weaker section shall also be given the reservations, right? So this is what Article 15 of 4 is talking about, right? So the provision of discrimination, the Article 15 provides for no citizen shall be discriminated based upon these five criteria. Please do remember. And exception, there is an exception for the women, children, the educationally backward, social and educationally backward classes, right? So, and access to free education, as we have already discussed. And the amendment which is therein recently, so we will be discussing in the next class along with Article 16 and 17, so as well as Article 18. So we will be finishing the right to equality, Article 14 to 18, right? This is what we are going to discuss tomorrow. In the part 5 we will be discussing about the amendment as well as the Article 16 and Article 17. And if you have any queries, please put down in the comments below, and please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you.